risk everything. I leave everything behind. Salut.
Jag minns inte så mycket från resan. Vissa fragment bara.
Mamma, är du okej?
Vad minns du?
Och det är så många år sedan.
Sluta. Han är inte okej.
Och mina mediciner, de gör att jag glömmer så mycket.
Men minns du något?
Gud, mamma.
Lilla mirakel. Vad skulle jag göra utan dig?
När blev du min riktiga mamma igen? Vi går tillbaks. Mamma, vänta.
Ska du med eller ska du inte med?
Jag ska inte med till Nordpolen, mamma.
Vad skulle jag göra utan dig?
Ta livet av det. 3, 2, 1.
Ibland blir jag så trött på att saker som händer mig inte dödar mig.
Till och med min egen dotter har djävulen i sig. Till och med min egen dotter har djävulen.
Jag heter Inget. Du heter Inget, han heter Inget.
Jag hade aldrig velat ha en annan mamma.
Hello, hi, good evening everyone. Welcome to another edition of Film Talk in Europe on Screen 2021. I'm Noval Yazid, the festival co-director of Europe on Screen 2021. And today we will talk about Psychosis in Stockholm with the director Maria Bäck. She is already here. Hi, good afternoon, Maria.
Hello.
Hi, all right. Thank you for spending a little time in your Sunday with us. Appreciate it very much. And before we begin, I would like to remind our audience that you can either join us via Zoom or YouTube channel of ours. And you can also ask questions by typing in your questions at the Q&A box at the bottom right of your screen. You can ask it in English or in Indonesian. If it is in Indonesian, I will help translate it to English, because we will conduct the entire session in English. And first of all, I understand that you are at the moment in Stockholm. Is that correct? Or somewhere else?
No. Actually, I live in Copenhagen, in Denmark.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in Denmark where I live. Yeah. But I come from Sweden.
Yeah. And it looks like a sunny day there. From the background of your window, so it's great. And yeah, first of all, thank you so much for making the film. It's a very profound film. It's a very strong work of psychological drama. And as I understand, when I did a little research prior to our talk, this is the story was largely based on your own experience dealing with your mother who suffered from bipolar disorder. So I want to know, because this is such a, I imagine this is such a huge monumental decision. What was exactly the moment that you decided that you wanted to bring a very personal story to the screen?
I think in a way, I actually kind of knew it already when it happened. In a way, a bit subconsciously, because I remember, I went to this on this holiday with my mom when I was 14, and she was admitted to the hospital, and they forgot to ask about me, so I was just left alone in Stockholm. And in a way, these days were so much a mixture of something very traumatic, of course, and at the same time something quite exciting, because as a teenager, I had the opportunity to almost do whatever I wanted to do, and I stayed in this hotel, and it was really surreal and heightened kind of experience. So in a way, I felt like I was part of a film. Do you know what I mean? And I remember writing in my diary, and it was like everything is strange, and it was really sad, but also very magical in a way. And so I think something in me knew that I wanted to do something with it at some point, in a way. But it wasn't, at that time I didn't know that I was, to make films as a grown-up. I didn't know. But I thought I was, maybe I would write a novel about it, or, something. But then as a grown-up, and making films and stuff, I've been making documentary films. So I think I have put it somewhere else in my mind, because I didn't know how to approach it. And then, for me, it's very much like a piece of work comes, I make a film, and then it's afterwards, and I know what I want to do next. I can't, just jump over some things. And this was just in front of me, and I just knew that, okay, now I have to do something with it. How can I deal with this film that is inside of me? So it was gradually a decision, I think.
It's interesting because, like what you said earlier, you are used to making documentary films. You are a documentary filmmaker. So what made you decide to adapt this as a fiction film, thus marking your fiction film debut rather than a documentary?
Yeah, I think the vision of the film, like how, for me, a film often starts with a vision or a sense or a mood or a theme rather than something concrete. So it's quite abstract to me in the beginning, but I could sense very early that I wanted to see it happen, and I wanted the audience to be able to be together with the characters when it actually happened. I didn't want to tell like, now listen what happened 20 years ago. I didn't want to tell it. I wanted to see it actually evolve and kind of unfolding in front of the audience. So I think that was why I didn't know what to do with it for so many years, because I didn't think of myself as a person that could work with fiction. And so I think I had to understand it piece by piece, that it wasn't that mysterious to go from documentary to fiction. It's actually not that big difference in a way, because I've been training myself in my eye and my view in how I want to capture things in as a filmic material for so many years. So it wasn't that big a step. And also actually my debut as a director after the film school was documentaries, a bit hybrid, kind of mixes documentary and fiction. So in a way, also my previous work at film school was also very much staged documentary in a way. So but it was, I think, mostly this thing that I wanted the audience to be there rather than just having the story told to them.
You mentioned about diary. So you already kept diary when you were 14. And what was it like revisiting the diary when you decided to make this film?
Yeah, I've been writing for my whole life, actually, since I was like 5-6 years.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's a
Wow.
very big part of my life. And I think also that's been a important part of me also, in order to, because, you know, my mom, she's been sick since I was 5. So it's been a lot of rough things, because I don't have any dad either. So I was very alone as a kid. So I think for me, this experiencing things twice, as you do when you you experience it in life, and then you kind of write it, and then you kind of place things in some new order in your head. I think it's really important to, I mean, it's not that I write diary every day at all. Now I write once in a while, but I've been writing a lot. And I think revisiting the diaries, I don't know, I remember a lot of things. It wasn't like huge, it wasn't like something new, but of course I used it a bit. And I also, what I really did use was actually, I had my mom to get her medical journals from the hospital's archives. And I used that a lot, actually. I got all her journals from like the 70s. And that was like 500 pages with all kind of stories from her experiences. And also you can see how the doctors and the staff at the hospital have kind of, how they have experienced her, and how they have, tried to translate her behavior into some kind of language. And so it's a lot of inspiration from there that I could use as well. That was really interesting for me.
And did you have to sort of like translate that medical records to a language that is perhaps into non-medical terms?
Yes, sometimes, but some of the descriptions were really spot on and really poetic in a way, because they had only written what my mom had said or done. And so it was also these keys into, I mean, of course I know a lot of these things because I've talked so much with my mom and I've experienced her my whole life. So of course it was not like new things, but it was a new way of getting it through another perspective, from the medical kind of perspective. So it was really exciting, this clash, and also understanding more. There's so many, I don't know how it is in your country, but here, even though we have this welfare system and it on the surface it works good, but still there are like so much shame connected to it, and there's so much and also there's a lack in resources and time and everything. When things get so weird, that it's hard to kind of grasp and understand it. People tend to just distance themselves. So there's also this just a lack of understanding between the two sides, kind of, the persons, the staff that's supposed to help you, and the individual that kind of feel that they are treated like they're not intelligent, or they're not capable of taking any decisions. And in a way, maybe you're not, but still, you're still a grown up that should, deserve respect. And it's really complicated area. So I think that was also kind of interesting to see how because it has also changed. I mean, my mom, she was sick at the first time in the 70s before I was born, and then she had some years where she was okay, and then she was sick again, and almost every year since I was 5. So it was also this long journey in medical history. Like, it has, of course, it has changed. I mean, to the better, but it's still really problematic. But it's not like in the old days where it has happened a lot still.
I mean, the stigma is still very much present in our modern society, despite despite the rising awareness, I would say, in recent years to acknowledge this mental health issue. Do you also share this medical, your mother's medical records to Josephine? Sorry, because both your actors named Josephine.
It's really confusing.
The mother, it's the mother and the daughter. Yeah. But did you share to the actress playing the mother?
Yeah, I did some of it. Okay. And also I shared, I mean, in when we worked together, I shared everything I knew about the whole thing. You know, I was really open about it, and it was also important to me. There wasn't like they shouldn't play me and my mother. It's not. I mean, there is of course inspiration, but there's still an extension of it, and we also build characters together. You know, but of course we used it a lot as inspiration. I think it was of some. I think it was a big value actually to kind of be able to read the history of your character, even if it wasn't exactly like that. But I believe what they could use the most was my personal experience. That I could actually tell from my own life what I had, people I've met there, and you know, also other people than my mom that has the same kind of situations, and I could tell a lot of stories how I've experienced things my whole life, and of course they could use that.
Yeah. And I'm always curious with the first time fictional film director. How do you do workshop with your actors to create characters that are eventually portrayed on screen?
I think for me the most important thing was to have a lot of time. So we started casting before the script was finished. So I was actually casting for a very long time, and I used the castings to kind of build a method. So I trained while I was doing castings. Like I met a lot of actors and young girls, and then when I met them, that was actually quite an easy decision for both of them, because they were just like, okay, there you are. You know, I really immediately understood that this is, of course, I couldn't take the decision before I had seen them together and so on. So it was still a lot of work. But after the decision, we still had like maybe almost 2 years, maybe 1.5, almost 2 years before shooting. Okay. And I live in Copenhagen, and they live in two different cities in Sweden. So we're not in the same town, but we met. We met like every 3rd month or something like that. And I have a background in dance, so I've been dancing a lot.
Oh, I see.
And I actually use that a lot in my work with them. So we were doing a lot of body work and getting to know each other. And we did a lot of writing exercises, like they wrote letters to each other as, you know, they were being in character, and I wrote to them. They kept diary as if they were in character. So we had, you know, a long time where we got to know each other, and they also did things like, you know, created memories together. So they went to amusement park together, and they did a lot of things as a mother and daughter, but you know, it wasn't like they were in character all the time, but that they actually did things together without me as well, and just spending time. And then we had a lot of rehearsals as well.
Your dancing background helps me understand it, because I noticed that the mother and daughter, they have this particular movements, this small gestures. Well, obviously the mother is when the illness strikes, pardon me for saying that, then she acts out. But even the daughter, she has some moments that express her burden, her sadness of playing dual roles, basically, when she is unwillingly forced to be the mother between the two, and the expression, the gestures. I wonder how detailed were you in the script in preparing for this two
quite detailed
characters?
Actually. I mean, quite detailed, but you know, because I was so lucky to find them before the script was finished, and also of course it was a decision that we made that we wanted to have a lot of time, but I could you know, I could see what came from them naturally, and then we could enlarge it in the script, and then we could, you know, work with it. So it's a combination of my ideas and their natural body language that we kind of okay, so you did that, just do that a bit more, and what happens, you know. And I also directed them a lot, that I gave them different keys. So I kind of told the daughter to you should always try to be as far away as possible from her hand, and the other, you know, something that was opposite to that. And I had a lot of body direction things, but it was more like, you know, having a body goal, or and also I think it came a lot from their experience with each other by that, the actual dancing experience that we made, because they knew each other's bodies, so they were not. It was quite. You didn't have these limits in between the bodies, so they were kind of used to being together. So I think that helped.
Yeah.
They are both so talented. I was so lucky because they are amazing, both of them. So
they're excellent. They're excellent actors. Yeah.
So it's a lot of things that just came from them because they're really good and they really understand the characters.
And also the film interestingly explores Stockholm as like the city of destination for traveling, but yet somehow you manage to avoid the touristy looks, despite this, despite Stockholm is being experienced by Maria, the teenager who may visit the city for the first time. So how do you decide which parts of Stockholm that you want to capture in the film?
I think the first decision was not to show all the touristy things. That was like the first thing, and I also thought a lot about the perspective that you wanted to see the city from, which is a daughter's perspective, and she's not interested in all the touristy things. She's more like on an adventure, and she goes where it seems interesting, or maybe where it seems a bit scary, or maybe where and also, as we have this amusement park, for example, I knew from the start that I wanted that because that was like an important brick, but then how can you work with that in another way? And that's why we were there by night when it was closed instead. I just tried to twist stuff. And also some things came natural because the Josephine playing the daughter, she had never been in Stockholm before, like never.
Oh, okay.
So when you see, for example, the scene when she goes down the escalator down to the metro, that is actually the very first time in her life where she goes down to a metro station.
Oh, wow.
Like, what? Okay. How can you be 14-year-old in Sweden and she's never done that because she's never been to Stockholm and she hasn't traveled a lot, and it actually it's actually herself that is a bit like, it's not that she's exaggerating it, but it was 100% very exciting to her. And she was like, when we came down, I remember she told me like, it's very strange thinking about it's a street up there. Yeah. I wasn't like that when I was that age. And I come from Gothenburg. We don't have metro, but I had traveled a bit more, and I don't know. She's just like that. She's just that kind of kid that she hasn't. So a lot of things came from her, and trying to are there any more places she hasn't seen, and has she been a place like this? And we used that. And the third thing about the locations was we actually used some of the real locations, and that wasn't
okay.
It's not an important part maybe for the audience, but it was important for us as a team because, for example, when she buys the little stone, I actually went to that place and I bought that stone, so there was some things that were really nice to work with as it gave some energy to the whole team, knowing that 20 years ago, this is where it happened. And so it was more like something where we could use energy wise in the team, and that gave something. And it's recorded at the same hospital that my mom was actually admitted, so it's in the same building. And so there are some things that we used more for ourselves than actually, of course it wouldn't matter for the audience as such, but it matters work wise somehow. So it was a combination of these kind of things.
In that case, I cannot help asking, the actress playing Maria, did she also try vodka for the first time in the film?
Did I what?
Did she try vodka for the first time because she sniffed the vodka?
No, in reality, I didn't know. I don't think so. There are a lot of things that I've put in the film that it's more like a translation or interpretation of something that I felt as an emotion, or something I felt like it could have been like that. But it's not all emotions that you can put into a scene because maybe it's just the thought or it's just the feeling. So I've been working a lot of like, if I wanted to show the feeling of everything being open and trying things for the first time, maybe I didn't do that as much in reality, but in film I wanted to give it a bit more, because otherwise it would just be even more internal experience, So to me, it hasn't been important what happened in reality or not. That's the only thing that's important to me, is that I know that I can tell the story from a authentic point of view, and I know these things not only from the trip to Stockholm but from my whole life, so I kind of know the universe, and that is like what's important to me more than concrete scenes.
Let's go back and forth between our my questions and the audience questions. We have some questions here from Natalie. You said that you wrote your trip experience with your mother in your diary when you're 14. Do you still have the diary? Well, we talked about this earlier. Did you perhaps reread the diary entry and reference a lot of events from it for the eventual film? Yeah, so if you could elaborate, like which parts, like you said, you visited a lot of places that you also visited, but how do you decide which parts that happen in real life that you want to keep and which parts are completely made up for a fictional purpose?
Yeah, I think I in the process, in the beginning of the process, I kind of wrote everything down that I could remember, and also everything down that I could find in my diaries. And then I tried to, I also wrote what I just was saying. There was also all these internal things, not only what happened, but also what I was thinking about, and everything I could remember in terms of everything. And then I kind of tried to forget it again in a way, and start to only keep the frame that is like, okay, we have this girl, she's going on vacation, her mother gets psychotic and admitted, and they forget about what happens. And then I started from scratch again, but with everything I knew from the first version in a way. So I tried actually to be as free as possible, because otherwise it was really hard to work on a film. I wanted the film to be free, and I wanted I wanted us to have all the opportunities we wanted. I didn't want to lock us in, okay, it wasn't that was not the way it happened. And I didn't want to create the atmosphere either on set, with the team, that where they should feel that they should ask me, how was the light that day? I wanted us to be in the premises of the film. So that was really important to me. So I also have this thing, I don't talk about details in the film, whether they happened or not. I mean, of course I can answer it if it really means something to people, but I don't think that is so necessary. And I don't want the audience to sit and watch the film and think, because then a scene can mean more or less to you all of a sudden, because then, but it wasn't like that. That actually happened, and whoa, So I want people to watch the film as its own premises. Of course, I can say things like it was the same hospital, because that really doesn't really. Then I don't discuss, the actual content of a scene or the feelings in the scene, but that is just a part of the frame in a way to me.
I see.
So
Another question we have from our audience is from Gaston Suhadi. The question is, as now you get into a feature filmmaking, do you see that in general the line between documentary and fiction is getting vague or perhaps getting blurred here?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think maybe in the film industry, people might talk about it in that kind of way. But if you look in film history as such, this has happened all the time. Like people have combined genres and all the time. So I don't know if it's more like a way of talking about it that has changed more than the actual methods. I believe so, actually, because if you look in the film history, people have actually experienced and experimented with all kind of mixtures for a very long time. I don't think that is new, but I think the way of talking about it and and also the understanding of a film is a film. You know, a film is a film on its own premises, and you should always look. I think. I mean, you should always look into what the film needs rather than do I want to make a documentary or a fiction film. I think, to me as a director, it should start somewhere else. It should start with a vision or a strong desire to tell something or share something, and that's where it starts. To me.
Another question, this comes from Pico. The question is, does your mother know that you made a film based on your experience in Stockholm? How is your relationship with your mother right now?
I love getting that question because I always get that question. And to me, it's like, it's a very sweet question because I think it's, and it also tells a lot about people's expectations on how taboo and how much shame it's because to me, I would never, ever, ever be able to make this film without her knowing it, unless she was dead. And unfortunately, she's not dead. I mean, to me, of course she knows, but I really understand that in this question lies all these kind of expectations that you might not even talk to her today, or maybe your relationship is that hard that you cannot tell her. And so I really love getting that question away because it enhances how important it is to talk about these issues. And but my mom, she loves the film and she's been supporting all the way through, and I think she watched it like 30 times or something. I mean, she's like the biggest fan of the film, and it has done a lot of really positive things for her, because now she can also use the film as, you know, she can give it to people and she can be proud of it instead of being ashamed of something that is from society, something you could be or should be ashamed of. So it has turned a lot of things from negative and shameful places into something into the light, and that is something to be proud of. So she knows everything about it.
Okay, well, that's very good to hear because well, you have a first-hand experience dealing with this issue, and yet despite the recent raising awareness of mental health issue, we still do not see many films that talks about mental health issues in a way that is frank like this film. So in your opinion, how do we should capture or portray this issue on screen?
I think a start can be that, you know, people with actual experience are allowed to talk about it, or are given the space, or, you know, I think a lot of films that I've seen through my life where I have missed seeing something where I could mirror myself has been because you know, films tend to build upon earlier films. Like if they should portray a psychiatric ward, then it feels, I mean, I don't know, but it feels like some directors has then seen like 10 other films and okay, so this is how it looks, instead of see how it is in reality. Or it's not that everything has to be the way it is in reality, that's not what I mean, but I think it's boring when you kind of reproduce things that came from the wrong place, or, you know, I kind of lack more authenticity in it and some personal voices in it. I think that could be a start, but things take time, you know. So I think I think we will see more and more of it, because you know, even just 20 years back in time, it was different in how you talked about these issues. So I hope that things are opening up and that you can see from new perspectives.
Yeah, I hope so too. Another question from our audience, still from Gaston. Does the bird steal the girl's camera almost at the end? I wonder if this scene means anything to you.
Yeah, in the film, the bird steals the daughter's mobile phone camera.
Mobile phone,
if it means anything to me, of course it means something. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the film. But I don't know if I want to say what it means to me, because I like when I like when the audience can have their own experiences with it. But of course, there is a link between what the mother in the film talks about the birds as her soldiers and the birds as collecting memories. So there is a link in the film there that you can understand the way you want to.
I see. And after this very personal project that you have known for years and you have developed for years, actually, I wonder what's next for you.
Yeah, I thought of myself as somebody who would make only documentaries, and then I would make this film, and then I would go back to documentaries. And I think I will do documentaries again, but the film I'm working on now is actually a new fiction film. So I kind of fell in love with the process of writing scripts, and so I'm writing a script now that is it's still a love story. Like I see Psychosis Stockholm as a love story between a mother and a daughter, and it's a love story, and it's still about different perceptions of reality in a way. So there's actually there is this thread between the works, but this time it's a love story between a psychologist, woman psychologist who is living a double life.
Interesting.
So, but it's still elaborating a lot of what's subconscious and what's the real reality, and how can we share realities. And so it's about secrets and loneliness and love.
Well, that already sounds intriguing. I mean, looking forward to it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Maria, for your time.
Yeah, thank you. It's been nice talking to you.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for making this unforgettable film. But before we leave, let's take a picture together, and it will be guided by our technical host, Fina.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am the host, and we will do the photo session. Please look at the camera, show your best pose, and smile. I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Let's do it once again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again, Maria. Have a good rest of the Sunday ahead.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, that was a very, very exciting conversation with Maria Bäck. And of course, the film Psychosis in Stockholm, you can still see in our festival in festivalscope.com. The film just started playing today. The tickets are still available, so you can go and book the ticket right away after this Q&A if you haven't seen it. And I'm supposed to pick one question from our audience. Pico Muffin, you'll be contacted by our committee in Europe on screen for the merchandise. And in a few minutes, we will have another film talk session with Roger Hibbs from the Netherlands for the film Gold. And right now, I'm Noval signing off. Goodbye.